Welcome back. Now, it's about time for a conversation I've been looking forward to. We have in the building Violet Ejiata. She is a media producer, a presenter, someone with an undying penchant for social impact. Now, she's participated in not one, not even two, but 3 beauty pageants, winning all 3 of them. And Violet brings this really fresh perspective to pageantry. Now, she offers free skill acquisition and mandatory social service alongside varied opportunities to promising young women on the Miss WUN Nigeria platform. Miss WUN Nigeria, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
Okay, so WUN Nigeria, I kind of understand the whole idea and ideology, but I haven't come to grips with the scope of WUN Nigeria. As a past pageant queen, multiple pageant queen, what does this mean for you?
What it means for me really is very simple. Miss WUN Nigeria is here to promote the idea, the ideal of WUN Nigeria.
Okay.
For many people who are non-Nigerian nationals, WUN Nigeria to them is really like a mathematical thing. It's like WUN Nigeria.
Yeah.
But for those of us who are Nigerians, many of us actually established some form of acquaintanceship with the phrase WUN Nigeria, either through social studies or in social settings. So we understand it to be more than a phrase and more of a philosophy. We understand it to be a concept that promotes unity, the ideal Nigeria. I mean, the very first word, which is on our coat of arms, on our motto, is unity.
True.
And so that's what WUN Nigeria stands for. And that's really what Miss WUN Nigeria is here to promote. Okay,
so now a lot of people, a lot of pageant queens have come forward with amazing ideas and projects. But this is more than a project for you. This is a lot deeper than just a pageant queen's project. So you need to talk about how it all began. Where was the inspiration from?
The inspiration was from my personal journey, having competed in about 5 pageants and won 3 of them. And I just recognized that there could be a lot more to be done with pageant platforms. There could be a lot more that can be achieved. And so Miss WUN Nigeria is connecting the country in a way that maybe no other platform is deliberate about. Because in the end, when we think of unity, unity is not something that is bestowed. Unity is something that is built. And so Miss WUN Nigeria is here to build and establish that foundation, that institution that truly connects Nigerians by encouraging, deliberately by the way, cultural exchange. So we're having indigents from across the 36 states of Nigeria.
Wow.
Because when you think of Nigeria, a lot of people think of Wazobia, and that's what we're taught really. And it's not our fault. But the Kanuri tribe, for instance, in Borno State has about 7 million indigenous speakers.
Wow.
The entire population of Namibia is below 3 million.
Wow.
But in Nigeria, the Kanuri tribe is regarded as a minority, right? Because it doesn't fall within Wazobia. So Miss WUN Nigeria brings together every single ethnicity.
Wow.
It just says that everyone deserves a seat at the table. And so for us, inclusivity is really not a debate, it is a mandate. And I'm very, very honored to be the national director, really just championing this.
Honestly, you are extremely passionate about it, and even from how you're speaking, I can understand the types of statistics, alarming statistics you probably had to work with. But then also you've used the word intentionality already today. And what are the intentional projects that you've decided to begin with? Because I feel like this is huge and you can't do everything at once. What are you starting with on the WUN Nigeria project?
We have a task called Niger 101. The essence of this task really is to spotlight Nigerian culture, our history, our food, our tradition. Really, it's all vibrant. When you think about it, it's like 250 ethnic groups, right? And it's across the country. And so Niger 101 is a task that our finalists are going to engage in to promote their individual cultures and to represent.
So each culture they represent during the pageant is going to become a pet project for them, essentially.
Not a pet project, but more like a task, like a challenge. Yes, and the essence of the challenge really is to expose our culture, because in the end we continue to encourage people to see Nigeria, see Nigeria, but how do they see Nigeria if we don't show them Nigeria? And so that's what Niger 101 is here to do. Right.
All right, any other work? Because I know there was some advocacy work you were working on for some young girls.
Yes,
you want
please.
to touch on that?
Yes, please. For our social impact initiative, we're working on a campaign to raise awareness and funds for 1 million sanitary pads to combat period poverty in Nigeria. The statistics are really alarming, and school absenteeism is one of the byproducts of period poverty, and it's not really talked about enough. And so this platform is encouraging collective action because there's really only so much that one person can do alone. I started this in 2020 during the heat of the COVID-19 pandemic. And when I started this, I raised $1,000 in 3 days to provide sanitary pads for those who needed them at that time. And it wasn't until the following month that during my menstrual lecture in one of the slums here in Lagos State, I realized that there was a young girl, a young adolescent girl who was obviously, within menstruating age, who did not know what I was holding, and I was holding a sanitary pad.
She had never seen one before?
She had never seen one before.
Wow.
And I didn't realize how much of a privilege it was to be able to have access to sanitary pads just unrestrained, just any time you need it. I didn't realize how much of a privilege that was until that day. It was such an eye-opener. And so I have passionately been advocating for free sanitary products to be distributed. But the only way to do that is really if we involve the public, if we involve everyone else. And so we're encouraging, or we're initiating crowdfunding to raise both awareness and funds, very critical funds required, for the 1 million sanitary
honestly,
pads.
that project alone sounds huge, and sounds like you've already started making impact. But
yes, we have.
I know there's some young girls out there watching you right now. I'm wondering, okay, how do I get to that point where I can, make impact? Even if it's becoming a pageant queen, there must have been a lot of work on yourself, a lot of, I suggest reading as well and research on your part before you could get to this stage. That young girl out there watching right now, tell her your story.
My story is very simple. I stumbled on pageantry. I got into pageantry by accident. And when I got into pageantry, I did not have the requisite direction or resources to really, in quotes, perform my duties. I didn't even have any set duties as such. And I didn't do anything. The very first time I got into pageantry, and the second time as well. I was a 2-time winner at the time, but I didn't have any legacy. I had nothing that I was working with or working on. And so after then, it was my third pageant that I decided, you know what, I want to do something different. I want to build something different. And that's how I started the project. And starting that out was really just, it was just, I would say, maybe in part for self-gratification. It was for my birthday. I just wanted to do it, but after that first, second, third time, you go into this nooks and crannies and you carry out these things and you realize there's a different kind of life that people are living on the other side of the world. It's a different dynamic entirely. And if we do not raise our voices to speak for those who cannot speak for themselves, then really, what are we using our time on earth to do?
Honestly, I've heard a lot of people speak on advocacy before and giving back, and I know that there's a story. There's probably one particular case that spoke to you, that made you make the move. I'm not sure whose story or whose case it is, but you need to let us in on what that was.
Very precisely. Thank you very much for mentioning that. So this young girl that I mentioned to you, whose name I don't even know, because she exited the hall before we even finished, because she was really embarrassed, right? And when she had come up to ask what I was holding, other people started to laugh at her, because they're like, what do you mean, what is she holding? At least you should know it, you should recognize it, because you've started your period, obviously. You should recognize it, but she did not. And it was on that day, I was heartbroken. Yeah, I did feel, I felt a sense of just realization, really. And it was because of that young girl, whose name I do not know, whose face I cannot remember, that I made a pledge to never stop. So encouraging collective action is me saying that this is not something one person can do. This is not something a single individual can pull off. But with resources here, pulling together resources, pulling together efforts as well, we're able to make much more impact and go even further with this journey.
Honestly, I can't wait to see how far this is going to go. And it actually personally pains me that you have so many campaigns where condoms are given out for free. But essential needs like sanitary towels are not being given out for free. And I'm hoping there's someone watching or listening right now that maybe can connect with how almost intangible, insane it is to hear that something that is for pleasure and gratification is even given out for free when something that's an essential need isn't being given out for free. And hopefully projects like yours will help shed a lot more light on this. And if you need anything from us, hey, we're here. We'll jump on board with you all the way.
Thank you.
Honestly, I'm so impressed. But we have to head over to the kitchen now. Our chef has been hard at work putting something together. Thank you so much for joining us and talking to us about your story, by the way.
Thank you.
Will you join
Thank you
us in the kitchen?
Oh, sure thing.
All right,
Hungry here.